Welcome to Explore This, the podcast where we take a peek into the hearts and minds of explorers everywhere and learn what it takes to dedicate your life towards creating a better planet. In our first season, we focus on African explorers and feature scientists, historians, ecologists, journalists, and other experts from across the continent. I am your host, Cornelius Okello.
And I'm your co-host, Gautam Shah. Today's guest is someone whose work is as full of heart as it is science. Cornelius, tell us a little bit more about Dominique.
Well, Gautam, Dominique Goncalves grew up in Beira, Mozambique, just a few hours from Gorongosa National Park, where she also works. She is one of Mozambique's leading conservation voices and one of the first Mozambican women to work in elephant ecology. As a manager of Elephant Ecology Project of Gorongosa, she studies how elephants move, where they go, and how people and wildlife can live together.
But her work stretches far beyond field data, right?
That's right. Dominique also supports girls' clubs around the park, helping young women stay in school, delay early marriage, and imagine bigger futures for themselves. She often says, if girls are educated, communities thrive and conservation thrives too. Thank you very much, Dominique, for joining us today.
Thank you, Kello. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's start from the beginning, Dominique. Tell us a little bit about how it was like growing up in Beira.
One of the memorable things of growing up in Beira is how easy it was to play around the area, kind of a little bit surrounded by still nature, because I did not grow up in the middle of the city or the town. I grew up in the suburbs of Beira. And in that area, we still had some wetlands full of birds and full of fresh water. After the rainy season, full of fishes. We used to even try to catch fishes using a little net or, a box, running around barefoot, climbing trees. So that is one of the memorable things I have still from Beira. And right now it's quite changed. Only a few spots like that remains, but when I was growing up there, everywhere around me was like that.
Oh, that sounds lovely. So growing up there as a child, did you ever imagine that you'd be working in nature, or did you dream of being something else?
I think I kind of had a little glimpse of it, I believe. I kind of sometimes imagined that I would work with nature because I used to love plants and flowers. And my mom had a little garden. And we used to also grow some of the vegetables at home. And not only that, but my father, when he was younger, he was working in forestry before. So he had many, many crazy stories about being in a forest at night and hearing animals and some adventures. So I think it was always kind of the kind of environment I grew up. But to be honest, I was very early when I had a kind of idea, or when I saw someone that was kind of a role model for me. And so I decided to focus on nature. So I think, yes, I always thought I wanted to be working with something related to the environment for sure.
So it's safe to assume or safe to say that hearing these stories about nature from your father really did have an influence on your decision to work with nature.
It did put curiosity on me for sure. Hearing my father's stories about being in nature certainly put some seeds of curiosity and fascination. But the real decision came afterwards, once I saw that I could do it as well. Because of course, your fathers always have amazing stories, but it doesn't mean that you can, follow the same steps.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
Are there any of the stories that you remember very well or that you'd be willing to share?
It's all very blurred at the moment. But one of the things I remember well was him telling us about being camping in a forest, and then hearing leopards in the trees, and Sasa forest, which is basically miombo, one of the most common vegetation types here. And our forests here are basically miombo. So, of course, it's also the habitat for certain large mammal species. And it's because my father would tell the stories in a very dramatic way as well, very entertaining way. And that is what I remember. Yeah, mostly. like the fear about hearing leopards around.
If I'm correct, you were born the same year when the Mozambique Civil War ended, right?
Correct. I was born in the same year.
Could you tell us a little bit about how the aftermath of the war affected you or affected your family?
I guess the way, even though I was born right in the year that the war ended, there's still some effects around, right? So I guess education and some other access to other resources might may be difficult, may have been difficult. I'd say, you know, I was born exactly that year, so I was a baby. Not that like I felt much of that, but as I went to primary school, so the education system, the health system, all the things in the country were still a little bit, shaken or just starting out. So I'm part of that post-war generation when I guess we had we were educated and we got access to healthcare and other basic needs in a very rough way. But for us, that was the normal, right? I had no base to compare with. So now, it's different when you see that what could have been. But at that moment, it was just growing up and listening to many, many stories of war.
You said that Beira has changed a lot since your childhood. Can you give us some examples of how it has changed?
It is. I guess Beira has grown a lot. As I say, the little wetlands where I used to play and we have running water and little fishes and tons of birds are not there anymore. I had this around home in the neighborhood, and right now it's all basically buildings and expansion. Beira is also a little bit different because in the terms of the political setting, because it's always been from the opposition party. So from Beta, we do think that, we're a little bit behind because of that, in terms of political, what can I say, power dynamic. So we have the biggest port. We have a lot of, I wouldn't say traffic, but a lot of movement is one of the biggest doors to the country and the inland and the continent, but still we're still a little bit behind in terms of our roads, our infrastructures and services. But Beta is very resilient, and the people of Beta, it is, very, very strong. We've dealt with so much. Let's remember that one of the hot spots for the war was very close to Beta, was right here in Gorongosa. And Beta as well, have suffered since then, where it was always in the route to cyclones and extreme weather events. In 2019, for example, we have the massive cyclone Idai that completely destroyed the city, the biggest kind of in 100 years, also in the southern hemisphere. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of resilience as well in terms you can see that in the way people work hard, the way the people are very vocal about their needs, their wants, and their rights. When it's about politics, Beta is not a place to mess with. I should just say, and I think that's why we're still actually developing in our own pace, and now even better and quicker, even though it is an opposition place.
I guess it's sometimes difficult to balance between the nostalgia of the past with sort of the progress or economic direction that a place is going. Is that something that you feel any conflict about? Like, oh, I know that this is the right direction, but I kind of wish, or I kind of still remember the way things used to be, and wish some of it was that way.
Yeah, totally. And actually, I think there's a name for it. I think it's solostalgia or something like that. Is when you miss the environment, the environment you grew up or you have memories with changes. So what you feel is like a solostalgia or something. So I think I've been feeling that a little bit, but as long as things are done properly, because to be honest, there's more people. Of course, there's need for more infrastructure, this and that, and also the fact that when I was growing up, you're blessed with naivety, I would say, So you just grow up, and that is the perfect world. But as you grow up, you start seeing other needs. You start thinking differently. Yeah.
Dominique, let me bring you back to nature a bit. I'm an environmental scientist, so I'll always come back to nature. And you love nature so we are two peas in a pod. For me, I know when I decided to work with water, it's meeting a mentor when I was interning at UNDP, and he telling me water is going to be the new gold, and then looking around and realizing, yes, actually, nobody has water. So for you, what was this point of inflection where you decided to focus on elephants?
That is way after. I don't have the tipping point, like, this is it. I have a different one. Then it's it goes to my story of role models, because I was in 6th grade primary school still, and one day my teacher brought this magazine with Dr. Wangari Maathai and the Green Belt movement. You should know about her, okay? And that was my moment. Yes, and that was my moment when first of all, I have to say I was scared, because it was all about the Green Belt movement, and at the time they were talking about the ozone hole. I was so scared, so I decided I'll do everything to help, right? Planting trees and this and that, all it. And and then I decided I would study biology and plants. That was my moment. And then when I got to university after plant physiology 1 and 2, I was like, oh no, I need to start animals. I think I'm about to animals. It was getting a little bit boring to me. And I went to study carnivores, and I didn't have that opportunity. But then I studied large, medium mammals, fine. But my moment that I decided was more about when I got the opportunity to. I was presented with the opportunity, I never thought or dreamed about it. No. And I was actually doing training in birds. As a good ecologist, you should really know, birds are the first thing good ecologists go for, and they're so great to indicate the species, so many things. But then I was asked a question if I would rather study elephants, and I was like, wow, why not? Yes. And it's also my cup of tea since it's large mammal. But that was it. So it was never like since young or anything, no. And I always said I was given an opportunity and I grabbed it. That was it.
You are a victim of circumstances.
Yes. Totally.
I'm really happy that you actually brought up Wangari Maathai, because first African woman Nobel laureate.
Yes.
Something you have in common with her, because you are one of the first women in elephant ecology, right?
Right.
How was it for you stepping into this role, knowing that I am the first of many? Hopeful.
You know what? I only realized this when you guys or other people say that. Oh, you're the first. I never, did that. I'm gonna be the first, or I'm being the first. No, no, no. I was just doing what I wanted to do, and I raised up to a challenge, and I did it. I managed to get it. And then suddenly, apparently, I'm the first Mozambican doing it. And, and because I'm still young, and let's be honest, this field of conservation research for women, especially in Mozambique, there's so many open doors to it. So, it makes sense that perhaps I'm the first, but definitely won't be the last. Open many, many, many doors. So that won't happen. But I was just beginning. To be honest, I was thrown into the fire after I finished my master's. I remember my very good mentor, now late, Professor Mark Stallmans. He asked me, so now what? And I was like, well, maybe a job, or maybe I can help with anything. And he just said, start something. And because on my master's was right after my kind of intensive training in elephant behavior and identification. And for my master's, I was looking human-elephant conflict. So, I decided that I would start the Gorongosa elephant ecology project here. So I started, and I got inspiration from a different place, and from my other mentors like Joyce Paul and Cynthia Moss, not quite as a mentor, but a kind of like friend or elder that I look up as well. Because with their work in Amboseli, it's been like more than 40 years of data and research. So you can see all the trends, ins and outs, and just outing shift, who got to meet who and who died, who was born, what intense event affected something. So I wanted to do the same. And because here in Gorongosa, this is a recovering population. It's like an unique opportunity. You can count in Africa or in the world how many recovering populations from poaching or recovering restoration populations are coming. So this is a unique, like, living laboratory. So I wanted to keep an eye and keep a close monitoring of this recovery population in terms of everything: behavior, ecology, and interactions with people and climate change. That's why I said that this would be a long-term project and not just like short-term 3-5 years. But no, as long as it can run, I would like to keep an eye on these elephants and see how things work.
You did bring up that this is a recovering population, and again, from what I understand, they're still scarred from dozens of years of devastation to their family. Do you think that the current or future generations of elephants will ever get over that? And have you noticed any change in behavior in all the time that you've spent with them, or how long does it take to get over something like that?
They will probably get over, but they won't fully forget, right? Elephant is a very long-lived animal, so it probably take generations and generations until this tension goes down a little bit. Your other question was, can you repeat your other question, Gautam?
Well, my other question was, have you noticed, and I mean, I know it's obviously in the grand scheme of things, it's a very short period of time, but for others, years and years, spending time with the elephants, have you noticed any changes in them?
I would say that it's not, don't quote me as scientifically proven, because it's just I said for someone that is always like around elephants, you see that some family groups, some getting more, not always, to be honest, they just tolerate a little bit more. But the thing is, they're just like people. They have good days and bad days, and you may get used to them like being very nice and okay, no stress, no charge, no nothing, and the next day, boom, the moment they don't feel safe or something, they will do something. So it's hard to tell. I also don't. I personally don't like to think that they would habituate. They are wild. They are in a protected area. They are free to roam. And if they don't habituate, I think for me that's fine. This is their space, space. We are the ones intruding here. So I don't like to think that they will be all calm and nice. If they had this past and this is their character as a population, then we respect that. We should respect that. Of course, we can compare with other populations that are perhaps more calm, like Kruger or Ado, that elephants basically don't mind you. But, right here, they still, maybe those memories are still very fresh, and it's okay if they do mind you, I think. I always also give similar answer when people ask, oh, do they recognize you? And I said, I hope they don't, because I don't want that to be part. Of course, it would be nice if they spared me and my vehicle and not hit me or something, because I'm always around. But it would be amazing that as many older, or should say more experienced elephant people has had some really close experiences with elephants in terms of recognizing who they are and all that very interspecies interaction. I had some, but I prefer that, they just keep going wild and free.
Yeah. You don't want to have elephants as your friends.
Nah, I don't. No, yeah.
Let me just change lanes just a little bit. How did you get involved in the Girls Club?
Yeah, so what a great question. How did I get involved in the Girls Club? When the senior management was kind of putting this idea of creating Girls Club, think I was in my early days here in the park, and nicely enough, they would pick our brains too, older, new, young people, like what this club should be. So we all put some ideas in there, but then the club was formalized. And we started with the clubs, and one of my colleagues at the time was managing the club. She said, why don't you come and visit it? It's like, yeah, it would be nice to go and visit, because we all, heard so much about it. So when I got there, she just basically threw me to the girls and said, go talk and sit sit and talk with the girls. And oh, what an experience. It was terrible. It was terrifying. As young African girls are very shy. I was extremely shy as well, and they were as well. And it was hard to break the ice until I took out my phone and I had pictures of elephants and me working with elephants, and they all crawled over, and that was it. That was the start of a lot of bubbly, giggling, conversation and stuff. And then my friend said, my colleague said, why don't we do more often? We knew that was beneficial for the girls. So I decided to really put an effort on it. And I made this, I created this proposal, asking for money to start this role models initiative. It took me a few no's until I got a big yes to start the role models initiative. So I started the role model initiatives, and I asked senior management to nominate staff that would be a good role model. That could be a role model for the education program Girls Club. Honestly, I thought I would get like 5 or 10 nominations. I got 18, 20 from different departments. And
Nice.
because of my experience being an Agile Explorer, as you two are, Okelo, I remember participating in the Explorers in the classroom. And one time when I got there, all the kids knew who I was. They had tons of questions, and I had barely time to breathe. And that was like the icebreaker. I couldn't be shy in there because the kids were not shy. So I realized that I needed to do something like that, information first, so the girls are less, surprised and like without questions and etc. And this is why I decided to create this brochure where each department's role models are featured with they work, a little interview and advice for the girls, pictures and etc. And these brochures are then distributed across the girls' clubs, and the girls learn. They have time to learn about Dominique, about Janado, Mercia, about Maria, all these amazing role models in different departments. And then we manage for the girls to meet the role models either at work. They come to the park to visit us, or to the factories, wherever we are working, or the role model goes to the club for a surprise visit. And because they always have the brochure, they just have to open and they know exactly, they recognize. It's a complete different vibe, I would say. And so yeah, that's the role models initiative. And it was great. But the thing, as I always said, when I created this initiative, I really thought only on the girls. I was focused on the girls, impacting their futures. But turns out we had a very unexpected positive as well outcome for the role models. My colleagues are very proud, are well more motivated, recognition not only by the senior leadership in the park, in the brochure, because I make it big. When the brochures come out, it's like everything stops for the release of this brochure, please. Because this year, for example, I released on the 8th of March, and the park media helps as well. There's online, and there's, and it's amazing. And they get to also have a copy, 2 copies, one for them or for whoever they want to give. So even in their families, I would say, there's that sense of pride. So that's the part that I didn't count on, and is one of the best so far, because it's completely different vibe to have a army of women very well motivated and proud of their work and wanting to pass that and inspire other young girls. It's amazing. Yeah.
Sounds extremely inspiring. That's very good work that you're doing.
Was it your work with the Girls Club that made you realize how critical this was for the restoration of the environment and for the future of elephants? Or did you go to work with the Girls Club because that was a link that you created ahead of time and realized, like, oh, actually, it's not all just about studying the elephants, but I actually need to get involved with, with different things with the community. How did it evolve?
Yeah, I think it's more in the second part, because all of us here, we all identified like girls' education as number one thing, and even thinking of elephants, I mean, we always talk about conservation education of the communities, and we always talk about how working with children is really important in the different aspects of challenges of conservation. So for me, and I was thinking, what can I do? Well, and after that first visit, it really linked well. I was like, that's it. This is how I can help with this as well. And in return, maybe create more awareness for elephants and things. I do not restrict only on elephants. I am the only elephant person in the whole role models. But at least I'm bringing all the other different expertise that people could have while working for elephants or for conservation, linking with human development. So yeah, that's it. I use elephants as emblematic species to help inspire these children. Yes.
Working with both elephant ecology and girls, it sounds like you're on the right path. Do you also feel that way?
I would say that my main also drive that makes me think that I'm in the right path has always been that I never wanted to be just a kind of ivory tower academic only study and publishing. No, I always wanted to be the more implementing type, boots and hands on the ground as well. And I'm lucky that I can be that bridge between, academia, because I'm still in academia, but also in the field or in the ground in our communities. That helps a lot. And yes, I think it's when I hear people that are very, very shifted to one side that I realize that I'm in the right path, because I can tick or really properly tick many boxes of what conservation should be. Although I'm a trained ecologist, my work is conservation science and involves people, is a socio-ecological system. So for me, I think that's the right path. It's important to just have knowledge about things in a certain way, but some of us, especially in Africa, we cannot afford to be just that anymore. We need to come with solutions. We need to come with proper, practical things.
I think my big takeaway from your answer was that you have to there has to be balance in life, because you're very right. It's working in the environmental space in conservation can be very heavy, and then you have this working with kids and inspiring them, which becomes a pickup. I think that's very, very inspiring. Speaking about heaviness when it comes to working in conservation, I saw a very sad story about this devastating attack on the Niassa Special Reserve. I think that was the 29th of April of 2025. And this reserve is very much like Gorongosa in the sense that it's one of the success stories of Mozambique's conservation. Do you worry that something like that could happen at Gorongosa as well?
Well, yeah, you're right. Niassa is perhaps one of the biggest natural reserves in Africa. And, it's also another gem of Mozambique for sure. There were some very, very successful conservation or restoration projects going on, like the Niassa Carnivore project with Colleen Bank. And, it's such a big space. So the management of the place was different. There was areas of just restoration and hunting blocks and this and that. And unfortunately, Niassa has been suffering for a long time now. We used to have the biggest concentrated population of elephants there. And then our elephants also suffered from 2010 to 2012 or so. We had a massive decimation of elephants there. But they keep, Niassa kept growing, I would say. They held the line. But now it's with all this instability, the insurgents. So there's many, many names for what's happening there. There's the rebels. There's also the Niassa is near this new area for exploration of gas in Mozambique. So it is a very, very sad truth and momentum now for Niassa. If I'm afraid that would be Gorongosa or would happen, let me tell you, it has happened many times before. Remember, Gorongosa was the battleground for the war. That's why the wildlife got so decimated. Gorongosa was one of the battlegrounds here. That's why we lost so many elephants. And now we talk about recovering population. We used to have about 2,500. Now, after the war, we had less than 200. Not only that, but also, I think it was around 2015 or so, Mozambique had another political instability, internal civil. We had a civil conflict in Mozambique, let's just say it like that. Yes, we had a civil conflict that people could not actually even travel freely from the south to the center to the north and etc. And here, Gorongosa, Gorongosa is the base for, at the time, was the biggest opposite party, and they were called rebels. The Mount Gorongosa, was from 700 meters up, is also park, was where the rebels or the leader of the opposition party was staying. The late Jacama, Alfonso Jacama, was staying up there in the mountain. And that was the time that we were just starting, for example, the park was just starting the coffee project in the mountain. And yeah, if it wasn't for the women and men that stayed there in the area, the native from the mountain that would go and water the plants at night, and then, because no one was allowed there. It was really difficult for staff, for, you know, we all here, but we also have different parties and different thoughts and perceptions about how the country should be. But at that moment during the conflict, we were very neutral, and we needed to be for our work to keep going, either in the community area or in the mountain. So we had also that kind of conflict, our own people fighting with each other. Well, if I worry that that would come here, because I think we all in Mozambique will just we are aware of what's happening, and we know how things can quickly come to us. Unfortunately, there's also it seems like the center of Mozambique also have some valuable minerals or something. So if they decide to start prospering, we call it the curse, right? Of mineral resources. Of course, I do worry. I do as well hope that things get fixed, and people are also taken care of way quicker than what is happening. Actually, that people take
Yeah.
care more about people than just the money and the resources there. Because right now we can see how all these kind of partnerships trying to sort this issue actually gonna make Mozambique and perhaps next generation suffer more. And so yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry to hear about that. We really do hope that the situation improves. To something a bit more cheerful, I want to embarrass you a bit. Your work
Try.
obviously is very important work. And okay. Challenge accepted. Your work is very important. To the point that it has gotten global attention. Let's put it this way. You are kind of like the face of National Geographic. Anybody who's been to DC and walks towards the National Geographic offices will see your face on a big billboard. How does that make you feel, knowing that you're world renowned? Let's put it this way.
Wow. It's I think it makes me giggle a lot. It makes me happy for sure, but it's mostly because of this kind of reaction from other people, because I remember when I got there that year that was put there, and everyone was staring at me, and I hadn't been in that area yet, so I had no idea what was happening. And you could see people just looking, and then someone say, you were there, right? I was like, what? No. And they took me there, and I was just like stone. But it makes me very happy, and especially when I receive message from fellow Africans and even other people from around the globe saying, "Look at this! Did you know this? I was just in this place. I saw you, etc." For my family, of course, they're very, very proud. Recently, I got the chance to have my sister and her husband to attend one of my talks, and it was the best for them. For me, I think it put a little bit of more pressure preparing for the talk because and then I remember avoiding looking at that corner where they were sitting. But I'm sure it makes me very proud. It makes me very it's hard to believe because I never wanted the spotlight. I never looked for it. I'm sure that I'm very grateful for it, but I'm sure there are people that will be more even thrilled and perhaps using it way more than I do. There are people that are born for these things, and they will seize that and boom. For me, I was just doing my work, and I was surprised by myself even that I'm thinking that, oh wow, they only think I'm this cool. And yeah. Oh, I do like it. I do love it. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's a real. It is very. It's very, very nice.
Have you signed any autographs?
No, no, no. I don't think so.
Not yet.
No.
Okay, you.
Next time
No.
I see you, next time I see you, I'll ask for one.
I
I should have done it last week.
I was just about to ask
No.
Gautam why he has never asked you for your autograph.
No. The thing is, we all doing such amazing work, you know. If we were to collect this, it's just I've been asked for pictures many times to take a picture together.
Oh,
Many
I do think
times.
that
Yeah. That
I do
counts.
think that I absolutely that counts, because I think that nowadays I don't think people ask for autographs as much as they ask for selfies.
Yeah.
So that's your version of signing autographs. Once they start asking
Yeah.
for your selfie, you've made it. You've made it.
Okay. Then yes, I have.
So, Dominique, when you're not working with elephants, when you're not inspiring women, when you're not doing your research, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? I love dancing. But these days it's been so packed that I rest, I read a book, I cook, and I really enjoy just walk around and chatting with friends. I love having people coming over. And even if I'm just visiting my mom, I always tend to have people and get together, or sometimes just sleep. But let's say
I think
that
we're being
my
invited
favorite
over.
hobbies is sure, come. You'll be pleased. Yeah. But my main thing is dancing. I love dancing and cooking, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gardening, well, it's not every day for me, but yeah.
I know. I also try to garden, but I fail, and then I start again. Then I fail, then I start again, but I'll get it. My mother had a green thumb, and I think this is hereditary.
Oh, true.
Dominique, what would you want your legacy to be? Would you want to be known more as an ecologist, an elephant ecologist, or would you want to be known more as somebody who mentored young ladies?
Nice. What a question. It can be both. Why not? Well, I want to be known as someone that did both. Yeah.
Perfect.
I want to be
Perfect.
known as someone that could see, that could make that link, that bridge, definitely. Because it's not only about wildlife, and it's also not only about people. So I want to be remembered just there in the between.
I agree completely. What would you tell, or what advice would you give 5-year-old Dominique?
You guys love this kind of questions. I mean, 5-year-old me was clueless. 5-year-old me, I don't remember. I have no advice for that one. No, that 5-year-old was perfect, was fine. That 5-year-old was fine and turns out to be this. So no advice for her.
Oh.
Yeah, but if you ask me, yeah, and if you ask me, perhaps 14-year-old, or
I was
that's
definitely going to ask, what did you tell 15-year-old you?
Okay, that's different because it was a time that I already that I wanted to keep studying. It was also very difficult times financially in the family, and I feel like I carried too much, I would say, responsibility and pressure to do well. And because, let me say, my entire studies, I had a kind of a bursary or scholarship involved. So there was always that thing that you had to do well, otherwise you lose this, and then how do you study and so on. My parents were also very how can I say, they really pushed us to study and etc. And I feel like I carried too much worries for that young age. And the advice I would give is that, things will turn out fine. Just breathe.
That's very funny, because I think that's the same advice. Whenever I get asked this question, that's the same thing I always say. I would tell my younger self, things are going to be okay. It's going to turn out fine. So as we wrap up here, what we like to do is would like to invite our guest to give us a toast. So I would say, here's to, and then you finish with whatever you want to toast to. You want time to think of one?
I think I need one. I think I need time.
As long as you don't ask ChatGPT, it's fine.
No. Sure. Okay. Let's go.
Let's
go.
Try. Here's to
all young women breaking barriers and gender norms. Yeah, here's to them.
Perfect. Short, sweet, and concise. Thank you very much, Dominique, for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, talking to the face of National Geographic Society. We will take a selfie when we meet, so definitely. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to join this podcast, and it's been also and I think with your questions I also learned a lot about myself, and they're also self-reflection for me. So thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that for the people who listen to it, to the young people as well, that they get inspired and they see that Africa also shines.
That's it for this episode of Explore This. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep exploring.